everyone, I'm Emily, and today we're at Creighton Business School with Dr. Bev Kracher, and today we're going to be talking about corporate spending in relation to President Obama's State of the Union address. So Bev, what is new in business ethics today?
Well, especially after the Obama speech last night, we can't help but think about corporate campaign spending. That seems to be in the media.
So what topics interest you about that?
What's going on? So the first thing I'd like to say is, as happens with a lot of things, what you hear in the media isn't necessarily what's going on.
Yeah.
So when I first heard about it, I thought, oh my gosh, now the floodgates are open and corporations can spend any amount of money they want on campaigns, but that's not true. So that's one moral of the story here. Be careful when it comes to media and what you listen to. But my understanding is that the Supreme Court decided that they're going to lift the restrictions on spending money on advertisements for politicians, and it'd be the ban that's applied 30 to 60 days before elections. So corporations can spend more money on that. But when it comes to campaign spending in general, there's the restrictions that are in place already are still in place.
But what then justifies these changes?
Yeah, it's interesting to read what the Supreme Court Justice says about this. I think it's Kennedy that wrote the majority opinion, and he said it's about freedom of speech. Corporations have the freedom to speak up in the same way natural persons do. And then I believe it's Scalia who wrote the minority, and he said, let's get some common sense about this. I mean, look at the landscape and think about what's going to happen to democracy if you have corporations have this ability to spend so much money. So of course, when you hear that kind of thing, I can't help but think about, freedom. So a corporation has a freedom of speech in the same way I have freedom of speech. And I wonder, how did that come about? So then you start thinking, okay, so corporations are legal persons, just as I'm, a natural person, and both of us have freedoms of speech. I don't know if I said that very well, but so because a corporation is a legal person, it has freedom of speech. And that's interesting. But I'm not a lawyer, so I don't necessarily think about the legal aspect. My mind starts thinking about the philosophical aspect. So what does it mean to be a person? Okay, so how can a corporation be a person and thus have freedoms and responsibilities? I mean, so what's the criteria for personhood, metaphysically speaking? Arms and legs. Does that make me a person if I have arms and legs? And of course, that's not the case because they're human beings that don't have arms and legs, and they're still people. That I can be harmed. Would that make me a person? And I think, well, the environment can be harmed, and we don't necessarily take the environment to be a person, so that doesn't quite work. That I'm conscious, does that make me a person? No, because then it would be the case that when I'm sleeping, I'm not a person, and that would be kind of stupid. So what is it that makes something a person? I have to say philosophically, people have talked about intentionality, that you can intentionally do something can make you a person. Well, if that's the case, if corporations are not only legally but metaphysically persons, can corporations have intentionality? Can they intend to harm or to do good? And how does that all play out? Can they make decisions based upon those intentions? I know about making a decision in my brain, but what does it mean for an organization, a corporation, to make a decision in the same way I do? I mean, this is just incredibly interesting mind candy when you stop and think about it. And within the matter of 4 minutes, because of our Jesuit education that's with liberal arts, we're taken from these practical questions about corporate campaign spending up to metaphysical questions about what a corporation is. And isn't that pretty cool?
Yes, that's great. Well, thank you for the enlightenment.
You bet.
Hey, thanks for watching, everyone. And if you have any questions or comments, feel free to find us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, or comment back on this blog. Thanks.